Now, Michael, I'm going to go back to you first because many of the questions we received all kind of boiled down to uh, how does a company get started with continuous? So if you're established, you're doing batch like basically everyone else. That's what your equipment is for. That's what everyone's mindset is set on. How does the program get started? Does it need the CEO in a small company to say, let's do this? In a big company, there's a start in a different place. And very interestingly, you started off by saying safety kind of started to drive Lilly towards continuous. So maybe some thoughts on how and you're in a big company, obviously, but um, um, also something relatable to some of the smaller folks out there. How does a company get started if they're already more or less established on a path to batch?
Certainly, sure. Happy to share. I think initially we did have a champion in the vice president that was over the small molecule drug substance organization, that he recognized the promise of the technology, both in terms of the ability to have a more well-defined process that was operating at steady state, as well as a way to kind of differentiate us. I think we felt there's a lot of great CDMOs across the globe right now. And so if we're kind of just doing the same old thing, is that really going to be sufficient for our position within the corporation? But so he was able to kind of set aside a few resources within our division. And we initially just analyzed some of the existing off the shelf kind of microreactor systems, kind of focusing more on reaction technology. And we've quickly felt that a lot of those weren't adequate for the types of transformations that are the majority of our portfolio. So we did a little bit of analysis of what are the types of reactions that we most encounter. And then we looked to say, all right, what platform for that unit operation would be most appropriate? If you think about like plug flow reactors or continuously stirred tank reactors, et cetera. And so then we started to kind of hone in on those specific platforms where we could get the most bang for the buck. And then we knew that we were going to be transferring a Grignard reaction into our commercial site in Ireland. And that was one of the reasons we did have a lot of resistance, I would say, from our colleagues in manufacturing as to why we were pursuing this technology, because they felt it was complex. But then there ended up being an incident in Ireland around the Grignard reaction that led to an explosion. And so once they saw that the next asset coming from our development organization involved that, when we started showcasing our ability to do it in a very safe and controlled manner with continuous technology, right? That really helped kind of pave the way for us. And then as we started to look at a number of different reactor platforms and other unit operations that would allow them efficiency overall, they liked it from a cycle time perspective. And so we had more of a hybrid approach where we would install kind of a set continuous unit operation in and amongst batch unit operations based on the value or the benefit there overall. And then we did eventually get to where we have the small volume dedicated facility for continuous manufacturing, where we could do multiple unit operations strung together with automation for kind of small volume products and be operating at steady state across all the unit operations and in conjunction there. And so that was really kind of the first foray ultimately. And then as that evolved, right, I think we started to look more closely at predominantly tablet manufacturing, right? So how did we say? I think we felt, well, that is a platform that we use all the time. And if we could better control the physical properties of the drug substance, why couldn't we maybe more routinely use continuous direct compression? Some of it was based on some of the efforts that we came out of kind of the Rutgers Consortium out of New Jersey, but then we modified it a little bit to kind of suit our needs. I think the other key that we had is that we hired in some key engineers from other adjacent industries that were more familiar with continuous manufacturing, and so that they weren't really concerned about it, right? If you think about oil and gas, you think about consumer products, they're more routinely doing continuous manufacturing, so they didn't have that barrier of this can't be done. And then I think as we had good discussions with our regulatory colleagues internally, we felt that we had a reasonable game plan to move forward with this approach. And then probably the other thing that we had to augment was some amount of basic modeling, right, capability, so that we could especially for the continuous direct compression, be able to show, the model is kind of part of the process there, and how do we establish that and implement it appropriately. But it's not a critical component there, but we felt it allowed us to have better control and more efficiency